Randy's grip tightened as he held Cyraxx up, his face twisted in barely restrained rage.
Like I said, I'd love to finish you off right now.
His words sent a wave of desperate relief through Cyraxx, who let out a trembling breath, thinking he might be spared. But Randy's next words shattered that hope.
But I don't get to do that. Yet. Not until some other people fail too. Come on, boy.
Without another word, Randy dragged Cyraxx across the room, barely giving him time to keep up, as he was hauled through the mess and toward the door. Cyraxx's heart pounded, dread pooling in his gut as he was unceremoniously yanked out of his house and onto the creaking porch. There, waiting with a look of impatient disgust, was Q. Dressed in his usual regal attire, the omnipotent entity from Star Trek seemed untouched by the filth of Cyraxx's world, standing with an air of amusement, as if the whole scene were beneath him. Randy dumped Cyraxx onto the porch, letting him crumple into a heap at Q's feet. Cyraxx tried to pull himself up, but every inch of him shook with fear and shame. He glanced up at Q, a faint glimmer of hope in his eyes, wondering if maybe somehow this stranger was here to help him. Q smirked, his voice laced with mockery.
Ah, here's the little turd now. I'm Q. Ordinarily, I'd never waste my time with someone as insignificant as yourself. However, I noticed your mind from across time and space. Not something wondrous and exquisite, mind you. More of an unwelcome attempt at music by some distant neighbors. So here I am, and my job is to see if you can improve at anything. Fortunately for the rest of humanity, I'm not holding them responsible for what you've got going on up there. This is just sort of a game.
He gave a theatrical wave of his hand, as if pondering some grand idea. Cyraxx's eyes darted between Randy and Q, his voice barely a squeak.
Game?
Or experiment, if you won't. If you win, well, I'll let you continue living in this hovel.
Cyraxx, though still terrified, grasped onto this small chance, a spark of defiance lighting in his eyes.
I can do it. Just you watch. I'm gonna prove all y'all wrong.
Q chuckled, clearly not impressed.
Oh, my dear Cyraxx, I'm counting on it.
He gestured to Randy, who cracked his knuckles with a grin.
But in the likely event that you can't, your consolation prize is a one-way ticket into the ring with Macho Man. And trust me when I say I do mean one way.
The words hit Cyraxx like a punch to the gut. He looked up at Randy, whose grin promised nothing short of pure brutality, and his heart sank. He could barely lift a bar of gold, let alone stand a chance against the Macho Man in a fight. Then, with a flick of his wrist, Q vanished, leaving Cyraxx trembling on the porch, the crushing reality of his predicament setting in. Randy leaned down, his face inches from Cyraxx's, his voice a low growl.
When you screw this up, and you will screw it up, I'm gonna be waiting for you.
As Randy's words faded, Cyraxx suddenly felt a strange, disorienting pull. The porch, the broken cans, and Randy's menacing glare melted away, replaced by an intense, dry heat and the sharp scent of desert air. Cyraxx blinked, struggling to process the new surroundings, and when his vision cleared, he found himself on a rocky, sun-baked landscape, Vulcan. Next to him, standing with a bemused expression, was Q, who had transported them without a hint of effort. Cyraxx's eyes darted around, the red, rugged landscape of Vulcan stretching as far as he could see, with a few stoic Vulcans standing in the distance, watching them with raised brows. Q chuckled, folding his arms as he observed Cyraxx's dazed reaction.
Welcome to Vulcan, Cyraxx, a place of calm logic and unbreakable minds. Also, as you've obviously noted, it's a bit warm. These enlightened beings should be able to sort out the tangled, sticky, and rancid mess you've got in that brain of yours. This is, quite literally, the easiest way in the civilized galaxy to fix your malfunction.
Cyraxx, eyes wide and already sweating, looked back at Q in confusion.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with me. It's Marty and the damn trolls always making me look like a piece of shit. Always.
Q let out an amused sigh.
You really don't get it, do you, silly boy? You are the problem. It's so obvious to everyone but yourself. These people are going to try to help you understand how the real world works, and just maybe fix the relentless vortex of chaos going on up there.
Or, he mused, a spark of mischief in his eyes.
I wonder if you're so far gone that your mess actually breaks one of these titans of logic and order. Either way, I'm going to be amused. You, dear dunce, should hope that you're the one who breaks, because they'll fix you too.
Before Cyraxx could reply, a dignified Vulcan approached, his robes fluttering in the hot breeze, his expression cool and unyielding.
Greetings, I am Spack. I have come to help facilitate your, shall we say, improvement,
he said, his tone serene. Cyraxx blinked, glancing back and forth between Q and the Vulcan.
I don't need no help from some weirdo in a robe, asshole.
The Vulcan raised an eyebrow.
That remains to be seen. I sense significant disarray in you, in a most unusual and unpleasant way. Fascinating.
Q chuckled, nudging Cyraxx forward.
Well then, let's see if the Vulcan mind can find a way to untie the impossible knot in this.
He paused, searching for the right words.
Anomalous specimen. If anyone can, it's you, my Vulcan friend. And if not,
Q grinned.
this could get very interesting.
Cyraxx stumbled over the rocky terrain, his eyes darting around, bewildered and frustrated. The desert landscape was like nothing he'd seen, burning hot, jagged red rocks stretching as far as he could see. And who was this dude in the robe? Everything about the situation felt wrong. He shot Q a sideways glare.
Dude, Q, what are we doing here? Is this some nerd convention or what?
Q chuckled, clearly relishing Cyraxx's confusion.
Once again, and more simply put, this guy over here is going to try to organize your brain, much like someone might organize hair or one's living space. Two things I notice you're also completely incapable of. Think of this as if it were a game of baseball, and you're up. You'll have 3 strikes, and that gentleman right there is the first pitch.
I'm great at baseball, could have been a pro if...
Whatever. Anyway, you're going to answer a question I've been wondering about for longer than you've been alive. Is it possible to break a Vulcan mind? With you, I intend to find out. However, the rules here are strange. You actually want me to lose. So if you do break him, it means you lose.
He nodded toward the Vulcan, his gaze mocking.
Perhaps a mind meld would be in order. I understand you have even more advanced techniques and methods, but starting with the basics is probably the most logical way to approach this specimen.
Whoa, hold on, I don't want my mind melted, bitch.
Oh, come now, Raxxo. How could melting it make things worse? I kid. No, I said meld. M-E-L-D. It means a merging of minds. He's going to put his fingers on your face, and through the connection, he'll be able to see your mind for what it is. What's wrong with that?
Indeed, that is most logical. Don't worry, my friend. It won't hurt and will help me understand how best to help you.
Cyraxx recoiled, raising his hands defensively.
I don't need no help from some weirdo in a robe, asshole.
The Vulcan, unbothered, stepped forward, his expression calm. Cyraxx shook his head, stubbornly pulling back.
I got private shit and stuff in there, you know. Hell, mind touch Marty, he's the sicko.
Q, grinning, leaned toward Cyraxx, whispering mockingly,
What's the matter, Cyraxx? Afraid he won't be able to help, or that maybe there's too much for you to hide? Either way, remember what I said about this guy being your first chance. If you balk, you get strike 1. Get it?
Cyraxx scowled, feeling cornered and helpless. He didn't like this one bit. But the Vulcan raised his hand calmly, his fingers positioned for the mind meld. He hesitated, but Cyraxx with a defiant huff grumbled,
Fine, but if you see something messed up, that's on you.
As the Vulcan placed his fingers on Cyraxx's face, his gaze grew intense, and he began to focus, reaching into the chaotic depths of Cyraxx's mind. The meld was supposed to be a calm exchange, a channel of clarity, a shared experience of thought and memory. But within seconds, the Vulcan's expression changed from serene concentration to deep discomfort, his composure slipping. He closed his eyes, jaw tightening, as Cyraxx's tangled mess of thoughts flooded in. Inside Cyraxx's mind, the Vulcan found a warped maze of delusion, fueled by resentment and arrogance. Bitter memories played back in distorted loops, paranoid visions of trolls stalking him, a string of broken friendships Cyraxx always blamed on others, moments of stolen art and music that he believed were the peak of talent. Through it all was an undercurrent of ignorance and hate, an insistence that everyone around him was out to get him, combined with a desperate need for validation, recognition, and above all, superiority. The Vulcan's breathing quickened as he tried to make sense of it, but the barrage of fragmented thoughts and warped logic pushed against his mental control. Scenes twisted and broke apart. Cyraxx's petty fantasies of fame, his deep fear of being exposed, and a gnawing, contradictory sense of self-loathing combined into a chaos the Vulcan had never encountered.
This,
The Vulcan whispered, his voice strained, his control slipping.
this is beyond comprehension. The chaos in here is a cyclone of hate, delusion, ignorance, and vile pleasures. It makes madness seem logical and sane.
Q watched with amusement, arms folded, as the Vulcan's face paled.
Oh, I suspected as much. It's rare, but you've just witnessed a mind impervious to reason and logic.
Q smirked, clearly enjoying every second of the Vulcan's struggle. The Vulcan tried to pull back, but Cyraxx's thoughts clung to him like a thorny web, dragging him deeper. He could feel Cyraxx's overwhelming pride in his achievements, despite their emptiness. The seething hate for anyone who questioned him, the resentment of imagined enemies, the refusal to change, all of it tangled and choked any hope of reason. The Vulcan's face twisted in pain, his breath now ragged. He forced his fingers away from Cyraxx's temples, breaking the connection, and staggered back, visibly shaken. Cyraxx blinked, feeling disoriented but otherwise unfazed. The Vulcan composed himself, but his usually stoic face betrayed deep distress.
So what did you think? Quite the ride, wasn't it?
No, this mind is a black hole of everything horrible and disgusting that we have left behind.
Cyraxx smirked, oblivious to the true horror of the assessment.
Ha, that was nothing. You think you can fix me? I'm built different, bitch. Sit on this and spin.
The Vulcan stepped back, his composure regained, but his eyes still haunted.
See, I told you I'm legend status, bitch.
Q looked Cyraxx over, a thoughtful smirk spreading across his face as an idea sparked.
I am so glad you proved yourself beyond my Vulcan friend's help, and your satisfaction is the cherry on top. For you see, Raxxo, because he couldn't help you, you have failed. These meat bags can fix any other bag of meat out there, but they failed with you, which means you haven't been improved at all. Fear not. I am pretty sure the Borg may just be able to punch your ticket, so to speak.